Hello, guys. So, today we're going to talk about story writing. Okay, our next project will be on writing a story. So, we're going to read two different stories, and these stories are written for entertainment, they're for fun, and we're going to take a look at how the stories begin, how the middle goes, and how the ending goes. And we're going to read them now. We're going to think about where the stories happen, the characters that are in the story. Okay, these stories are made up, stories that are made up about something that the author, the person who wrote the story, imagined. We're going to start with Chandra and the Sick Elephants. Once upon a time, long ago, a girl named Chandra lived in a small village in India. One morning, the Raja returned from a walk in the gardens to find Chandra at the gate, staring in at the elephants. "What are you doing here, Elephant Bather?" he asked. "I worry about the elephants," she said. "I love them all, and know them well. Maybe I can help them." The Rajah thought for a moment. "Go ahead and try," he said. Chandra approached Misha, the Rajah's favorite elephant. She studied his feet, the nails, pads, the cuticles. She studied his tusks. When Chandra got close to the first ear, she discovered a painful-looking infection inside the ear canal. The other ear was the same. So were the ears of the other elephants. Chandra cleaned their ears, sang the elephants a soothing song, and went home. At dawn the next day, when Chandra returned, the elephants greeted her with joyful trumpeting. The Rajah was overjoyed. He declared a festival day and invited everyone in the land to the palace. Okay, so this is from a book called The Rajah's Rice, and it is part of a story about the elephants that are in the book. So he tells us about how the girl is looking in at the elephants and she offers to help them because she's worried about them. She cleans their ears and fixes the infection that they have in their ear, making them feel better. And then the Raja, who is the leader, declares a festival in the honor of the fact that the elephants are now feeling better. So, an interesting beginning, an interesting middle, and an interesting end. Okay, and the story takes place in India. So, our setting is in India. All right. Our next story is written by a fourth grader just like you. A dream come true. Happy Martinez always wanted a pony. Where he lived in the Arizona desert, it seemed as if everyone had a pony. One day, Happy saw a little pony stuck on the pathway down the canyon. A rock blocked its way, and it couldn't move up or down. Happy inched down the path, speaking quietly to the pony. When he reached the pony, he took off his belt and looped it around the pony's neck. Happy and the pony walked up the path together. When they reached home, Dad came out to see them. "Can I keep him?" begged Happy. "Someone may call about him," said Dad. "If so, you'll have to give him back." Weeks went by and no one called. Dad said that Happy could have the pony. "I will call him Dream," said Happy, "because he is my dream come true." All right, so our story starts out about the boy named Happy who wanted a pony. He saw a pony that was stuck down near the canyon. He helped him up. He asked his father if he could keep him. They kept him until they saw if someone else asked about him. When they did not, his father told him he could keep him as his pet. Okay, again, interesting beginning, interesting middle, and end. Notice that both of our stories, there's a problem that has to be fixed. The first story, the elephants were sick and she helps them and they get better. Here the boy wants a pony, he finds one and he gets to keep it. All right, so we're talking about the features of a story. What makes good story writing? What makes a story good that you want to read it? Okay. Stories are narratives that come from the writer's mind. They use their imagination to come up with the characters, the plot, the setting, the beginning of the story, the middle, the end. All of this comes from the imagination of the writer. So when you're writing a story, you have to make up your own characters. You have to make up a plot, the plot of your story. Most stories are written with some sort of problem that has to be solved, and that's how they end the story, by telling how they solve the problem. You have to describe a setting, telling where your story is happening, and giving details so that we feel like we know this place or like we've actually been there before. When you tell your story has to be complete. It has to have a beginning, like an introduction to who your characters are, and then it has to have a middle where it tells what happens and what the problem is, and then it has to have an end where you find out how the problem was solved. Now, we're going to use dialogue words in our story writing to help make our story realistic. And we want to be able to tell how our characters think and feel. So we're going to use that dialogue to help us understand. In our story that we just read, Chandra and the elephants, she worries about the elephants. When she says, I worry, I love them, maybe I can help them, we can tell that she cares about the elephants and she wants to make them better. The plot in this story has a problem where the elephants are sick. Chandra helps to clean their ears, she sings to them, and she goes home. So she helps to solve the problem in our story. The setting of our story. The time and the place when the story happens is the setting. And it helps us to picture the place in our mind when we have a good descriptive detail. It says a long time ago, so we're going to think about the past. A girl named Sandra lived in a small village in India. So our story takes place a long time ago in a small village in India. This helps us to imagine what the place looks like. The beginning of our story tells us who our characters are, where our setting is, and what the problem is. The middle of the story develops that problem. It tells us what happens. What is the problem? What has happened with the problem? What is going to happen with the problem? And the ending tells us how we fix our problem. Okay? So this is how we start. We introduce the character, setting, and problem. The middle tells the events that happen because of the problem, and then the ending tells us how we solve our problem. Remember, dialogue is used to show how the characters think and feel, and it helps us to understand our characters, and to understand the way they think and feel helps us to feel like we're part of the story. Okay, so that's it for story writing. Let's go now to the workbook page. Okay guys, so we're on page 81A in the practice workbook, and we're going to read the short story together. We'll discuss the answers together. Oh no, Nelson cried out. Unfortunately, nothing he said could bring back his kite. It flew up and out of the park. Excuse me, a friendly little girl stepped up to Nelson. He was standing on the park path with his eyes fixed to the sky. What are you looking for? I lost my kite, Nelson said. Not just any old kite, but a birthday present from my Uncle Shandon. The little girl told Nelson not to worry. He thanked the kind little girl and then decided to go home for lunch. When Nelson opened the door to his house, he called, I'm home. Strangely, his mother didn't answer. Nelson walked to the kitchen and looked out the back door. There was his mother on a ladder, climbing down from the roof. Look what our chimney stopped in mid-flight, Nelson's mother said. Okay, so the kite flies up and the chimney catches it. It gets stuck on the chimney above their house. Very lucky that it happened at their house. It flew from the park and got caught on the chimney at Nelson's house. Okay, so it asked us to underline the name of the main character. So we have for characters Nelson, we have the girl at the park, and we have Nelson's mother. But the main character in our story, the character that the problem is happening to in our story, is Nelson. So Nelson is our main character, so we underline his name. The problem in our story is that he loses his kite. So the problem is, I lost my kite, Nelson said. Now, looking at the questions, we're going to do these together. What is the setting of the story at the beginning? If we look back, we can see that at the beginning of the story, they were at the park. What events form the middle of the story? In the middle of the story, Nelson talks with the little girl in the park. Okay, so in the beginning, he's upset because he lost his kite. The middle, he talks to the little girl. The ending, he goes home and finds his kite. What events help solve the problem at the end? Nelson's kite stops at the chimney on his house, and his mother climbs a ladder to get it. Okay, all right, this is our introduction to story writing. We will work more on story writing tomorrow as we start to explain the different steps in writing a story. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.